Hi there, and welcome back to Triplicate. And recently I have started making wine again, which I haven't done for probably about 30 years. And this is a jar of blackberry, which is still blipping away to itself quietly, so it's still fermenting, but doesn't have that long to go. And fermentation, of course, is what making wine is all about. And we need to know how much the wine has fermented. And the way to do that is we measure the density of the liquid. Since, well, if we're making wine out of most English fruit, blackberries especially, they don't actually have much sugar in it. So we take our sugar from that, which is just sugar that you normally put in your tea or cakes or whatever. That's silver spoon, that's the posh stuff, so there you go. And the yeast, it chomps on that and turns it into alcohol, which is what we want. Now, if you dissolve sugar in water, the resulting sugar solution is more dense than water. So if you dissolve about 1 kilogram of sugar in a jar like that, the gravity, the density of the water, which is called specific gravity in brewing, is around and about 1.085 grams per cc, or 1085 kilograms per meter cube, depending on which units you use, and either seem to be used interchangeably. And if it all ferments down to alcohol, an alcohol solution of 10-15% in water is just below 1,000. So all you have to do is be able to reasonably accurately measure the density of that, and yeah, you know how much sugar you've got left to ferment. And we measure the density using one of these, a hydrometer, which the denser the fluid you put it in, the higher it will sit up, and the less dense it will gradually drop down. So and it's calibrated along the sides there. Can I put this in front of the camera so you can see? So there you go. So here, that's water at about 1.000, and then up to about 1080, 1090, 1100 is where wine starts, and it'll gradually drop down while it's fermenting. So the way you're supposed to use these is you're supposed to get a little tube like this in a stand, and either siphon out or decant some wine into it, which is a real faff, and drop your hydrometer into it like this and let it find its own level, and that is reading dead on 1.000, which is what you would expect, because that in there is essentially tap water. But essentially being lazy, what I tend to do is take the airlock out and drop the hydrometer into the wine where the top catches round the rim. It's hard to read because of the curved glass, and it's quite often some deposited bits of wine from the fermenting on the glass. So that doesn't work terribly well, but as I say, it's the lazy winemaker's way of doing it. However, we have on the boat one of these, which we use for measuring the specific gravity of the engine coolant, and from that you can infer sort of as accurately as we need the amount of antifreeze is in, and hence whether your engine's going to freeze up over the winter. But I thought to myself, why can't we make something like that for measuring our wine specific gravity? So here's what I'm proposing. We take a piece of clear tube like that. It's a bit fat for the job, but it's the nearest I could find that the hydrometer would fit in. So our hydrometer goes in the tube like that, and I get a pair of electrical cutters. This is the only electronics you'll see, and nearest to electronics you'll see on this video. I'm using the electric cutters to stop the tube rolling down the disc. We stick a rubber bung in that end and we cut it off maybe about there, and stick a rubber bung in that end, and we get, and that's rolling away now, I'll put it like that, a cheap siphoning tube set. We get rid of that bit. Whoops. We cut this and we put some of this through a hole we've drilled in this, and that goes down into the wine. So you imagine we're working on our side here, so our jar is here, and then we put some more of this here on our pipe and our tap, and we use, basically no, you can't see, can you? You suck through the pipe, pull some wine up into here so that thing floats, turn the tap off so then the level stays constant, measure what the reading is, and then open the tap and the wine just flows back into the demijohn. Job done. So the first thing we need to do is take some kind of a marker and cut this, shall we say, about there. Well, okay, there it is, cut to length, and we can put a couple of bungs in the end like that, and the hydrometer doesn't fit in the middle. I must have the wrong end. Okay, so here it is, sorted off to the right length. Actually got the shorter length because I dropped a bun on the floor. Messed up which line I was supposed to be sawing to. Anyway, it should be okay. So next job is the bungs to the ends. So that is a demijohn bung which I bought, which has been drilled I don't know how. So I got a bung, that was a bung that didn't have a hole in it, and I've made a hole in it, not very well and accurately as a practice. So then I went on to the proper bungs, and the holes are not brilliant, and I drilled them. That is a punch for making holes in leather, and I put that in the pillar drill and rotated it quickly, and down it went. It cut quite nicely. We shall see. I still need to clean those holes out a bit if I can. So those go in there. And where's the... right, use that to stop it rolling down the bench. desk should muck around, put something under the desk feet. So there isn't actually a lot of play in there, but you just need to fill it till that comes off the bottom. In fact, there's... Anyway, we'll try it. And if it doesn't work, I'll have to buy a new piece of plastic tube. It wasn't a Perspex tube, it wasn't dear. And I've got water everywhere. So next job is... I want a piece of tube in both ends. One for pickup and one to put the pipe on. This is the solid plastic tube and I don't know what I've done with it. Okay, here it is. So I am going to cut that off. I don't know, I'm just measuring it against the jar here. Yeah, maybe 2/3, 1/3. Then downstairs, and we will probably be just about ready for a tryout. Okay, so I don't have a spare demijohn to try it with, so I've got a litre jug of water here, plus it'll give us a chance to find out how much it takes. And again, that's just tap water. So we place it in, and there you go, I just got my finger over the end, and there it is, and that seems to work. Okay. And that's measuring 1,000. Excellent. So now I shall clean it thoroughly and sterilise it, and we can try it on some wine. Doesn't empty in a hurry. And it didn't seem to use a lot of volume, I forgot to look, but about 100 cc's or something. Imagine it emptying that. Okay. Okay, so here it is. The trouble getting the whole thing in the shot here. We'll take that out, and in it goes. Oh yeah, we can. Okay, so let's do this. So that is below 1,000, just below or just on 1,000. It's not so easy to read this either. But it's easier to read than it is when it's dumped in the jar. So I would say that's halfway down the zeros of the 1,000. So let's let it all out again. Okay, and here we have a very slight problem with it, is that the cork is tapered, so you get a little bit trapped at the end behind there, but we can live with that. It's only a tiny little bit. So, come on, there we go. Right, well, I'm going to call that a win, a success. And see how it works in practice, and if we need to make any changes we will. I'll just leave that in there for now. So there we go. The triplicate easy hydrometer using kit. Possibly not the catchiest name, but there you go, it works. So on that successful note, I think we will leave it for this video. It was something a bit different and I've enjoyed making it. And I'm going to enjoy using it to measure the wine, and I'm sure I'm going to enjoy drinking the wine when I've done that. So on that happy note, I will leave you for now. Goodbye.